Hello, everybody, and welcome to Breaking Ponies, where we still have better green screen effects.
Well, yeah, certainly compared to the ones in today's episode, but we'll get to that.
Yes, we'll get to that later. But first, we have episode. What episode number is this?
Season 2, Episode 3.
Season 2, Episode 3. Lesson Zero, which I think is a play on the term less than zero.
I guess so. I get the feeling that a lot of these titles might actually be sort of slightly serious puns, as in just they got a pun that they can make out of the title. They might as well do it,
Yeah,
even
I
if no
think
one
they
notices.
would do that pretty well. I mean, if you're gonna call it something, you might as well call it something fun.
Exactly.
So in this, we get the introduction. We get our brand new intro in this season.
Yeah.
Which wasn't in the previous one. I guess it was just a holdover from the. I guess this is sort of
Um,
the true new premiere of the new animation style, the new everything
yeah, I
here
mean,
with this episode.
with the first two episodes of this season, they were kind of because it was like a two-parter.
Right.
They didn't really focus on the intros all that much, so I think they just sort of reused the old one. But now that we're into sort of the individual episodes, they've souped up the introduction. It's got slightly jazzier music to it.
Yeah,
You've got a lot of the
it's got a
background
bit of a better
characters.
balance. They got some more backing vocals. They got a bit better balance, and it's a slightly slower too. It's got a bit more
Um,
groove to
I
it.
don't think it is slower. I think that's just you.
Really?
I don't believe it's slower. I mean, it doesn't take any
No, it doesn't take any more time, but it just seems that it's delivered slightly more slowly. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe that was just the version you were watching.
Right? No,
Maybe your video was playing at a slightly slower speed.
I no, it wouldn't have been like that. I did notice that the sound was slightly different than before.
Well, yeah, the as I said, the music is slightly different. I don't think they entirely redid the song, but they sort of added in more
They
instruments in
added
the
in some more
background.
effects. They balanced it a bit more.
Yeah,
It's good.
but
But
yeah,
they,
it was
yeah, the animation in this new thing is a lot more lively. I praise the animation of this show in the first episode I saw. It's even better now. The animation is way more lively, and they're even doing a lot more experimental angles too.
yeah. I mean, the first season was very formulaic. I think that with the success of the first season, they kind of had a bigger budget,
Yeah,
so
they had
they
a bigger
could
budget. They could get
experiment
a lot
more.
more creative angles. They didn't have to keep reusing the same backgrounds.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's all done on Flash. This is a Flash animated
Yeah, but even in Flash
series.
animation, you still have to draw the backgrounds. You still have to, if you have the same background, you might as well be able to use it another time. Like you have Twilight's library, you can always
Yeah.
have kind of the similar angles from that. But they were being
Hmm.
a lot more creative. They have aerial shots. They got all kinds of zoom outs and things. They were a lot more creative in this episode, which I really like that. I really like this first episode. Honestly.
It's a good fun episode, I think. It's a nice sort of really good introduction to the new season, and sort of the new, almost the new style of the show. It's a little more manic. It's a little fast paced, I thought. I mean, the second episode not so much, but this first episode was really quite quick.
Yeah,
Really,
the first episode I thought had really good pacing, and it was also really well written. The writing flowed really well,
yeah.
I thought, because we're not even getting into the plot yet, but basically, you tell me that there's even more pressing towards Twilight's insane anal retentive nature in this season.
Oh God, yeah. She just gets increasingly more anal as this season and the third season go on, and you will see that. It's like they've sort of evolved her character slightly to make her even more just kind of twitchy, I think is the word. You'll understand in some of the future episodes. Trust me.
I'm seeing her twitchy in this one, so we'll
Oh
see.
yeah, yeah. Trust me. This is her going full out. She doesn't quite get this bad again. I think she kind of learned her lesson, but she does get a little manic.
Well, we are introduced, and she is as anal as ever, and well, even more anal now because she's making lists of everything, including how she makes her lists.
Yep.
And Spike is just helping her because that's his job. He's doing that, and she has everything planned out, but she discovers that she doesn't have a lesson to report to Celestia this week,
Yeah.
and she goes into this huge diatribe about how if she doesn't report, then she's tardy, and if she's tardy, she's gonna get in trouble, and if she gets in trouble, she's gonna get sent back to kindergarten.
Magic
And
kindergarten.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's magic kindergarten, which is like regular kindergarten, but magic.
of course.
And she's already gone through this whole, just totally overreacting everything. So she decides to go out and find something to write about, to help somebody, try to help somebody. But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, or
However you
Unfortunately,
want to look at it, yeah.
her friends don't need any help. Her friends are doing just fine right now.
Yeah, it's a quiet week in Ponyville, which you must think they must be glad for a quiet week every once in a while.
Especially
I
with
mean,
Discord on last week.
yeah, exactly. You know, they had the Discord problem a little while back, so it must be nice to just have a nice, almost relaxing time. Because you can't have everything happening all the time because it gets a little samey.
Unfortunately, the ponies are fine without her. They don't need her help. Rarity kind of needs her help to find her missing ribbon, which is like a ribbon coated in sequins and gems. Like, that's a really fucking expensive ribbon. And then she starts cutting it up. I'm like, no.
Well, you got to cut it up so it can go in just the right place on the dress.
Well, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit, but
Well, yeah,
just
basically, between she goes to see all her friends,
yeah, she
none
sees
of them
her
have
friends. None of them
problems,
need
and
help,
it
so
just
she's like,
causes her.
well, if they don't need my help, I'll create a problem that I can solve myself.
Yeah, this
So
is
she
how
ends up
she goes a
getting
bit manic. I
yeah,
want to
she
point
ends up
out.
getting Munchausen by proxy syndrome.
I'll have to take your word for it on that.
This has become My Little Pony Majora's Mask.
Oh yeah,
And even the way that the sun is moving through the sky is like
it's
tick,
like a
tick,
clock, tick
tick,
tock, tick tock.
tick.
Which it's just
Yeah, it's the very
animation
manic and
style, and
very fanciful nature of the animation in this episode. The animation was really, really good, especially on Twilight's face when she is just going completely nuts.
oh yeah, I mean the facial expressions in
Yeah,
this
the facial
episode are
expressions in
really
this
good
episode are amazing.
and hilarious. The whole Twilight manic thing became quite
It's
popular
like they
online.
didn't even need Pinkie Pie in this episode.
No, although she does help a little.
She finds the Cutie Mark Crusaders and is like, well, I'm going to help you guys, and I'm going to give you my Smarty Pants doll, because of course she would have a doll called Smarty Pants that comes with its own notepad and quill in case it wants to do homework, because
Of
that's exactly the kind of toy she would have.
well, yeah, I mean, you might as well stick to your character, right? I mean, everybody's got a kind of toy like that, some old toy that's falling apart that you can't bear to
Yeah, but
throw out.
it's falling apart, but it's also so ingrained into her psychology that it's called Smarty Pants, and it comes with a quill and notepad in case it wants to do homework. This is what she finds fun when she was a kid.
Well, I mean, don't forget, back in the first episode, she was very much a bookish type.
She's gone from being very bookwormy to being very anal retentive, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of comes with the territory, doesn't it?
I suppose.
Yeah, if you're one of those people that always sort of goes with books, you're usually very sort of make lists out of
Fastidious.
everything, and yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, so she ends up turning this doll into the One Ring, and there was actually a lot of Lord of the Rings reference. Well, not really references, but just things that reminded me of Lord of the Rings. Because you also have a moment where she's talking to her reflection in the puddle, which is
Yeah.
very Gollum-like.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's entirely possible that that scene was inspired by Lord of the Rings. I'm pretty sure the movies were out at the time.
Oh yeah, the movies were out in like the 2000s, early 2000s.
Yeah, I know. God, it's so bloody long ago. But yeah, it's a bit
Then
of a
she
Lord of
ends
the
up turning
Rings.
her doll into the One Ring, which not only the Cutie Crusaders are fighting over, but everybody in town are fighting over.
Yeah.
So that's not good, and they have to rely on Celestia to come down and save them from it. Which she was in her pissy mood again, which is always strange to see. Because
Yeah, it is a bit weird to see because you kind of think of Celestia as this sort of always benevolent, sort of shining figure, but she was actually quite pissed.
not even necessarily benevolent, but just when she snaps, it's night and day, which is a bit more appropriate than I'm going for. But because in the other episode where you see her snap, the one where she's yelling at her, and I thought it was a dream, she almost goes a bit too far in that direction. She's usually very quiet and demure and usually pretty tolerant of nonsensical behavior, but then she seems to snap over things that you'd think she wouldn't overreact about.
Well, I don't think she really snaps in this episode. I mean, she's a little concerned, I think, about what Twilight has done, which is understandable. I don't really think she snaps, but she's sort of wondering what the bloody hell is going on.
Yeah.
Why has Twilight done this? Of course, ultimately Twilight explains it all, but
anyway, she discovers that it wasn't her that had to learn the lesson this time. It was the rest of the main six, or the main five in this case, where they kind of discredited the fact that she's worried that she's going to get in trouble, and they're like, you don't have to worry about anything, and they didn't believe her troubles were actually bothering her, and that was the lesson in this episode, is that even if something isn't relevant to you, if it bothers your friend, you should probably work to help him out of that. So now all the six are assigned to write Celestia, but not every week, but only when they have something to report, which I'm guessing is going to be kind of the change in the series from
it's basically because at the end of the episodes in the first season, it was always Twilight or someone writing for Twilight about the message to Celestia, and now it's changing over that pretty much anyone can write to her. And this kind of thing, this kind of sort of flowing thing will continue as we go through the seasons. So you'll understand as we go.
So I'm guessing like sometimes it'll be whichever character the episode was centered around.
Exactly.
Will end up writing to him.
Yeah, pretty much. Because, obviously we don't always focus on the main six.
Exactly. So yeah, I guess that's it for that episode. I really liked this one. This one was really funny to watch. Mostly because of just seeing Twilight spaz out and go completely fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch something like that, and when it's sort of bright and colorful and well animated, well voice acted, and all that stuff, it makes the whole show really good fun. I mean, if you were going to show someone an episode, this would probably be one of the example episodes you could use.
Yeah.
For why this show is really good.
Yeah, because
possibly.
It also not only that, it's also very much a microcosm because it explains kind of the premise of the show as well. That she is there to report.
Yeah,
you can like sort of glean the rest of the premise from that. There's nothing that you really need that's really missing from it. It's not really out of line with the rest of the series because there's a lot of episodes of shows that are really good, but they're not really typical for the series.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get the kind of idea. Yeah.
And so moving on to the next episode, Luna Eclipsed. Coming off of the previous one, this was actually somewhat disappointing. It wasn't bad. It was good, but it seemed to be less well paced. It wasn't as well paced as the previous one, because the previous one had really good writing and really good pacing too. The whole episode flowed really well. This one seemed to have a couple of dead spots in it.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, don't forget most of these episodes are shown a week apart, so
Yeah.
you would have space to adjust in between episodes. I think this episode was largely an episode for the fans because if you remember, Luna is not seen throughout the entire first season at all, except for the end of the second episode when Nightmare Moon is defeated. And all the fans were literally just wondering what the hell happened to Luna after the end of the second episode. And so the creators of the show decided to do an episode for Luna, which is great because Luna's awesome. So yeah, that's kind of why this episode exists in that sense. It's an episode. Look, Luna does still exist. She is alive. She's still here.
She's alive and she's doing this, and she has a very strange personality. I mean, they still managed to give her a very, I wouldn't say recognizable personality, but I guess understandable personality.
Her personality can seem a little odd, but I think that's just because she is so out of touch.
Yeah,
so it seems odd to us because she is not used to this, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah, so the episode, it revolves around what's referred to as Nightmare Night, which is basically Halloween.
Yeah.
But instead of like boogeyman or creatures, it's a celebration or a warding off of Nightmare Moon, which is Princess Luna, who is like, she's gonna come and she's gonna eat you, and she likes to eat ponies, so you have to dress in a costume so she doesn't do that. Which I like how they managed to tie that all together really well. They tied into making her kind of this boogeyman character, or boogie pony, whatever you call it.
Yeah. I mean, it's been 1,000 years, so it's the idea that the festival will have changed over the centuries to become this sort of weird sort of semi-celebration that it's become. Kind of like how Halloween has become for us as well. It used to be this one thing, and now it's kind of evolved and slightly commercialized into something else.
Oh yeah, Halloween is a totally different from what it used to be. It used to, and it used to be like to celebrate the harvest or like the solstice or equinox or something, and now it's completely changed into this totally different thing with like pagan occult basis, but still like Judeo-Christian slants on it. It's really weird. But then Halloween itself, it seems to be rather secular.
Yeah, it is really.
Halloween isn't really about any particular religion, even though people try to say that it's about Satanism. It's not.
No.
If anything, it has its basis in Christianity.
Halloween is really just an excuse for kids to get lots of candy.
Basically, yeah, because it's like, don't take candy from strangers unless you're dressed up in a costume on Halloween.
Yeah, that's so bizarre.
So, of course, we get to see costumes this one, and Pinkie Pie is a chicken, because why not?
Yeah, did you notice throughout the entire episode, she walks on her back legs the whole time?
And she's always like clucking and everything.
She's clucking.
When she runs off, she's like clucking and... Ah!
Yeah. I mean, that's Pinkie being Pinkie, really.
Yeah.
That's Pinkie being fun
And she's
enjoy
like she's
the
stealing
candy.
entire bowls of candy by pecking it.
Oh yeah, well, of course.
Very very Roadrunner like. I almost expected her to go meep meep.
No, she didn't go me, but she did go squawk a couple of times.
Would like bolt out just like the Roadrunner does.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we get Luna coming down and she wants to be liked, but she's not doing it in the right way. She again going back to Lord of the Rings, she reminded me of when Galadriel is trying to take the ring, she turns into that crazy bitch and she uses the loud booming voice. That's basically what Luna was doing, and
Yeah, kind of.
she's trying to force people into liking her,
Which
which
never
yeah,
works.
no, it doesn't really work because they'll like you, but they'll still be afraid of you.
Again, in Luna's defense, she doesn't really know what she's doing. She's been out of the loop for 1,000 years. It's going to be jarring for her.
And so, of course, anytime she does try to be nice to them, Pinkie Pie is there to scream and warn everybody to run away, which, of course, they do. So, Pinkie Pie is very much a bitch in this episode, honestly.
Well, yeah, but it is explained
Yeah,
why
it
at
is
the end of the
explained in the
episode.
end, which, I mean, again, this episode could have been paced a bit better. I don't really know how I would have done it, but it seems to hit the same notes a bit too many times. And it just seemed to not be as tightly written as the previous one, where she basically figures out that the fact that she is scaring them is what's gonna make them like her, because
Yeah, well,
she's making it into like this. It's the same reason you go to a haunted house.
yeah, exactly.
Like
Because people like to be scared.
people like being scared. It excites them. It gives them a burst of energy. And even if they are scared, it's a fun kind of scary.
Yeah, it's not like actually scary,
Yeah.
scary.
Although it's weird because at the beginning they seem to be legitimately afraid of her because of the warnings, but then suddenly they're not, because there didn't really seem to be any transition to indicate that they weren't ever doing it legitimately afraid of her, or they found a reason to not to be legitimately afraid and be funny afraid.
I think originally it wasn't so much that they were actually afraid of her, it's just they weren't sure. Like, I mean, it's the first time they've seen Lunar really pretty much since she originally showed up as a Nightmare Moon, however much time ago that was in
I would
the
imagine
show.
about a year.
I guess so. I mean, the exact timeline isn't really specific. As I said, the episodes tend to jump around a lot. Like,
Especially when you
remember,
have seasons that last like one episode.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, cutting a long story short, I think it's just the fact that first they're wary of Lunar, then they sort of try to warm up to her. But yeah, Pinkie Pie is the one who really keeps screwing it over because she keeps running off and causing bad things to happen. But I mean, it all works out in the end.
Yeah, which is kind of standard procedure for these shows. It's like everything ends up working out in the end.
Yeah,
But yeah, see, they discover that they like being scared and encourages Ludo to play along. So as long as she's fun scary, then there's really nothing to worry about. And I guess she starts to learn to not be so official all the time, because she's always speaking to her in her official Canterlot voice, which is this booming, deafening thing like the Metatron from fucking Dogma.
yeah, and it's also she also keeps talking in a very sort of old-fashioned royal we and
No,
all
yeah,
that
she always
stuff.
refers to herself as we.
Yeah,
It's like,
which is
okay.
slightly confusing
It's
for
like, is
one
she
thing.
Venom or something? Or...
I think out of all the Lunar episodes I've seen, this one is really very much an introductory one.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't really know anything about her going into this episode, other than that she was the villain and she's not anymore. I had pretty
Exactly.
much forgotten that she really existed.
Exactly, which is kind of why a lot of fans were demanding a Lunar episode because they didn't want her to just forget, because Luna's supposed to be Celestia's sister who raises the moon at night and, controls all nighttime activities and stuff like that.
Yeah, and nothing really seemed to happen at night, so I guess they didn't really have any reason to have Luna out there. There were a
Yeah,
couple of
exactly.
episodes that took place at night, but not too many.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, nothing really bad happened at night in the previous episodes, but obviously she'll show up now and again throughout the rest of the seasons and whatnot.
Well, that's good. I mean,
Um,
I like her enough. I mean, at least she seems like she's willing to learn.
yeah, I mean, to be honest, I enjoy Luna quite a lot, not just because of her episodes. I mean, she's good in her episodes, but in the comics, she's absolutely hilarious. They turn her into this mental manic character. In this one issue, she is competing in this competition, and they make her this hyper competitive, will do anything to win kind of character, which makes her a lot more endearing in the comics. I really should let you read some of those. They're very interesting.
Well,
But
we'll see how it goes.
yeah, we'll see. I will get you into those comics one way or another.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah, those are my. I guess those are my thoughts on those episodes.
you definitely liked Lesson Zero better.
Yes, I just thought it was a better written episode. It had more going for it. I mean, because I understand the purpose behind Luna Eclipse. It's a good episode for introducing the character and progressing the story progression and her character development. But I just thought the Lesson Zero was better written.
I think you're right. I think it's a tighter episode, and just it's fun to watch Twilight lose it. Really
Oh
fun.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. So
Moving
that's it for
forward to
ponies.
Breaking Bad.
Now we're on to Breaking Bad. Today's episode is Better Call Saul. Did I say that right? Is it Saul?
Yeah, it's
It
Saul.
is Saul. So, so yeah, today's episode we get introduced to a character who is apparently popular enough that he has spawned his own spin-off series.
Which has been confirmed for season 2.
Yes, so that's going to be interesting. I don't know if we'll do that for the record. We haven't decided if we're going to continue on to
Yeah,
other
we already
stuff.
have pretty much the entire series laid
Well, we
out side
have
by
all the
side.
Breaking Bad and up to the end of season 5 of My Little Pony, and it ties up quite nicely actually, which is really really good. So whether we do Better Call Saul with season 6 of My Little Pony remains to be seen. It depends on if the show gets popular enough. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. Moving forward.
into the episode. Really interesting episode today. Just in general, sort of you get the feeling that a lot of stuff happens, and well, okay, not a lot of stuff happens in the episode, but it's going to lead to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of stuff gets set
Because,
up.
yeah, a lot of stuff gets set up. There's a lot of potential that comes out of this episode. I mean, it starts off hilariously with one of Jesse's friends, Badger, sitting on a bench, and this guy comes up to him wanting drugs, and Badger sort of jokingly says, I'm not going to sell to you. I don't know if you're a cop. And the guy's like, look, there's this thing in the Constitution where if you ask a cop if they're a cop, they have to tell you that they are, apparently. So of course the guy says, "No, look, I'm not a cop. Please, look, I'm just looking for some drugs. Just sell me, will you?"
And of
Oh,
course, this goes on for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes in
yeah,
like
this is the
real
whole
time.
intro. This is the whole intro. This thing goes on for like 5 minutes or something like that,
Where
and
it's
it's kind of just fun to watch. You know how it's going to end up. You know, they do the deal exchange, and of course the guy turns out to be a cop,
yeah,
and Badger gets arrested. What I liked is that I mean I don't know the actor's name, but I've seen him in several other things before. I know he was in the movie The Core, where he played this super genius computer hacker, and he's been in a few other things as well. I can't remember off the top of my head, but because he doesn't look like a cop, he is
right.
so thin and lanky,
Which is
and
why it makes him such a great undercover
yeah,
cop.
yeah, exactly, which is just brilliant and hilarious. And you said that there is actually apparently an urban legend that cops have to tell you that
Yeah,
they're cops.
there's an urban legend going. It's just one of those like common misinterpretations, or like, did you know if you ask a cop if he's a cop, he has to say he's a cop? It's like, that's not fucking true.
That can't be
It's
true.
completely not true because they would make undercover work pointless.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder where something like that even
Well,
comes from.
it's the
I mean,
fact that cops are supposed to be morally superior, so they always have to tell the truth. So if you ask,
no.
he has to always tell the truth. So if you ask him if he's a cop, he has to say he's a cop, otherwise he's lying, and then you can go home free.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
a
like that urban
strange
legend
thing.
that like if your roommate dies in college, you get straight
Is
A's.
that true?
That's
I mean,
also false.
is it true that it's an urban legend?
There's like an urban legend about that, and
I have
it's not
never
true
heard that in
either.
my life. That's bizarre. You people have some weird urban legends.
I'm sure you have some weird ones as well.
Um, Probably. I know that there's this one apparent urban myth that if you encounter a Welshman in a certain town after midnight, you're illegally allowed to kill him. Or something like that. I can't remember. It's based on some war or skirmish that went on like a couple of 100 years ago. And I don't believe it's one of those things where, it's rumored but never actually ever happened at all.
Right. It's just like the rumor about putting razor blades in Halloween candy, going back to an earlier episode. That there's never been a confirmed case of that ever.
I will be honest, I will tell you a small anecdote in that when I was at university, I was staying in this house with a couple of friends of mine, and we didn't even realize it was Halloween because you know what students are like. We lose track of the days.
Yeah,
And these kids came to the house asking for trick or treat, and I was like, "Oh crap, it's Halloween! Hey guys, do we have any sweets?" So we didn't have any in the house, so it's afraid we had to send the kids off. But then
and then you
one
had
of
to
my
clean the eggs
friends,
off the front door.
no, one of my friends suggested that we should have given the kids Nicorette gum, anti-smoking gum, which
Yeah,
is a
nicotine
funny
gum.
joke. Yeah, nicotine gum. It's called Nicorette in the UK. I
Yeah,
don't
we
know.
have Nick right here.
Yeah, which is funny at first, but funnier when you think about the withdrawals they'd be getting the next day. Yeah, see, that
I
makes
don't
it
think
really
any kids
funny.
would like the taste of nicotine gum.
No, probably not. I don't know what it tastes like for the record, but I can't imagine it tastes that nice.
I would imagine it would taste like cigarettes.
I don't know. I don't smoke, so I couldn't guess. But that was my Nicorette gum anecdote. It wasn't worth telling. Fuck it. Let's keep going. So anyway, Badger gets arrested, and this all happens in the intro. Where to go? Hank is understandably recovering from the explosive end to the last episode.
Oh yes,
Yeah, he got lucky, and he's sort of spent the last I can't remember exactly how long they said, a couple of days, I think.
probably a couple days, maybe a week.
Yeah,
Just
so he's spent a while at home because he's sort of been sent back. I don't know, did he get fired from his
I don't
job
think
at the
he
new
got
place?
fired. He just kind of they sent him back home because
Yeah.
I mean obviously he's going through some hard stuff.
Well, understandably, you watch a whole bunch of people explode and die,
Yeah,
then, you're going to have some kind of shock from that, which is perfectly understandable. Anyway, Marie calls for Skylar, but she's just left her new job. And so Walt picks up the phone, and he's the one who goes over, and he and Hank have a little talk, and he gives Hank sort of motivational speech. Don't be afraid, get off your ass kind of thing, which actually works, which I was rather surprised at. And Hank does go back to work, although at his old place, not the new place he got sent to, which I suppose is fair enough. At the same time as that, Jesse and Walt are counting the cash from their
yeah. They're making sure they able to split the money carefully, and they find out that they're a little bit short,
yeah,
which
they
is
find out they've only
obviously
got
the
40.
amount that Badger owed them.
Yeah, because he got arrested. And of course, Jesse ultimately manages to find that out, although he has to. He actually has to threaten his friends because they were so freaking scared to tell him, which
Which
is
is
interesting.
interesting. Yeah, it's the fact that he is sort of becoming this crime lord, or this he's becoming this imposing presence that he
Yeah.
probably doesn't really want, because these are his friends. He doesn't want his friends to be afraid of him.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of one of the things where do you mix business and friendship? It gets tricky there, which also comes in later in the episode as well. But anyway, Badge has been nabbed, and what happens is that they get Saul to sort of represent him as a
They
lawyer.
get Saul, who advertises on TV with horrible, horrible green screen effects.
I don't know. I mean, when things are green screened on television, it's got that kind of cheesy look to it.
But this
But
one literally has the green screen outline around the characters.
well, I get the feeling that ad was probably made on a pretty small budget. And I mean, even the dialogue in the ad is cheesy. It's just the whole thing is cheesy, which is probably supposed to be the point. It's
I
supposed to
know
be so
exactly.
cheesy.
He's what's often referred to as an ambulance chaser.
Hmm.
He's very Lionel Hutz kind of attorney, but he's like a good attorney though. He's
He's
actually
very Lionel Hutz, actually. You mentioning that he is very Lionel Hutz. Only he's good at his job. That's the
yes,
difference.
he actually knows what he's doing. Jesse put it perfectly. He's like, you don't need a criminal lawyer, you need a criminal lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. You need which is a great distinction between the kind of person you want for the job. So Walter loses a coin toss and is the one who ultimately has to go in to see Saul. And apparently Badger or the DEA is planning to offer Badger a deal in exchange for turning over information about Heisenberg, who is of course Walter. Obviously, Walter doesn't want that, so he tries to offer Saul a bribe, which doesn't work, which I was quite surprised at initially, but he does explain afterwards because when he turns down the bribe, Walter and Jesse decide to kidnap him, which is
Yes.
hilarious. Now, that stuff Saul was going on about, okay, you're not these guys. I can't remember what name he said, but I get the distinct feeling that's going to come back to bite them in the ass at some point,
Hmm.
perhaps. Because
You get the idea
Saul,
that this guy has his hand in a lot of pots.
yeah, he definitely has a lot more going on than you would think, looking at his rather pokey premises. But so they kidnap him, and cutting a long story short, he realizes that it's Walter. Although he doesn't use the name Walter, I can't remember what name he uses, because of Walter's coughing fits. He says he didn't take the bribe because he doesn't take bribes from strangers, which, you know what? I think that's fair enough. Yeah, I'll let him off on that one.
So you have a criminal lawyer who's a criminal, but he has a sense of morals. He knows just how far he can break the law,
and
but
get away with it.
it doesn't go further.
Yeah. So, clearly, I guess you don't get that kind of reputation if you're not good at what you do.
Yeah,
So he
exactly.
is clearly good at what he does. So what Saul suggests is that rather than, having to worry about all this, that they just kill Badger, because that would shut him up permanently. Obviously, however, Jesse doesn't want that to happen because Basher's his friend. Saul comes up with an alternate plan, and he gets this guy who literally will take the fall for anything for a price. He is literally willing to go to prison for any crime whatsoever. So they set this guy up as Heisenberg, and they get the DEA to arrest him after a hilarious mix-up.
Oh yes.
Badger is sat on a bench waiting for this
I'm pretty sure
guy.
it's the same bench from the intro.
I think it was the same bench actually because it had the same
Well, they
logo
had the
on it.
same ad. He had the same ad, which is oddly enough was for Saul.
Yeah,
But
which was for
he seems
Saul.
like the kind of guy who would advertise on multiple benches, but
Yeah, well, maybe, but
could
it
just be
looked like
could just
the
be
same.
irony that it's the same place too.
Perhaps. So they set up this thing, and the guy playing Heisenberg is supposed to show up. Unfortunately, he gets the wrong bench
Yeah,
because there's
and
two benches next to
somebody
each
else
other.
who shows up who looks very similar to his description,
Yeah,
he
bold,
just shows up
old,
there.
and who happens to show up as an extra. Of course, this guy, completely innocent. He's just a normal, ordinary bystander. He has no idea what's going on. So Walter and Jesse, who are watching this whole thing, panic and come up with a surprisingly good impromptu plan. Jesse gets out, and his plan is to walk past Badger saying, "You got the wrong fucking guy, go to the other bench." While he's doing that, Walter drives up in his car, pretends to see Hank, and blocks their view. And I was so surprised that this plan worked out as well as it did. I mean, it goes off perfectly. You expect something wrong to happen, and it doesn't. And it was just hilarious to watch this because you got Walter talking to Hank. Hank's basically telling him to piss the fuck off because you're in the way. And
You're in
Walter's
the
going,
way, and
"You
Hank's
want
like,
me to
"Oh,
go?
sorry, are you doing it right now?" And
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, yeah, clearly just stalling for time, but he
Yeah,
did
do you
such a
want me to
good
go
job of
forward or
hiding
back?"
it under the guise of not realizing that he was screwing everything up.
Yeah, which is brilliant. It's like, do you want me to go forward or back? Forward. I'll go forward, yeah. Okay, yeah, okay. I'll go forward. I'll go forward. And it was brilliantly, just really well done and just hilarious to watch. Anyway, it all works out. They arrest the right guy. Badger gets off with time served and some probation stuff, and it all works out in the end. Then the episode ends with Walter marking work at his high school place where he still works apparently.
Not making enough at meth to quit his day job yet.
Yeah, well, got to keep up appearances, I suppose. Considering all the shit he goes through, you sometimes forget he's still a high school teacher.
Yeah,
But
you do kind of forget that.
out of nowhere, Saul shows up. Walter is obviously a little disturbed about this, and Saul says he basically hired a private eye to track him down. Didn't take him that long at all. And bottom line is, Saul offers his services to Heisenberg, such as it was, essentially saying that he has seen Walter's product, the blue crystal, and knows that that kind of stuff can go far. And he is willing to literally represent Walter and Jesse and help them out to expand their operation, which is a deal I am honest to God hoping that they genuinely consider. I mean, in the last episode,
You saw how far they got going on their own.
yeah, that didn't end well. I mean, Saul makes a good point that, Badger got nabbed today, and that's just the first of many. It's going to happen. You don't do this job long enough, and people don't get arrested. You are going to have people under you get arrested, and you are going to need some form of legal representation, which all makes a lot of sense. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Walter takes that. I mean, in my mind, it would make perfect sense if he does. I mean, he's only asking for an apparent small cut of their profits. So yeah, as I said, and some stuff happened in this episode, not like a massive amount, but enough to set things up for future. The introduction of Saul and his potential aiding of the business and all this other stuff. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm also wondering if Heisenberg is still going to be used as a name, or if Walter's going to switch names, which would
Into
be interesting.
Schrodinger or something. And I remember you saying you really liked Saul as a character.
Well, he was good fun. I mean, the guy clearly knew what he was doing. I can understand that he would be popular enough to spawn his own series, I guess. I mean, I'm assuming he becomes the main character, obviously, because,
Yeah,
if he showed up in
he does become a recurring character later in the series.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. I totally understand that. And yeah, he was just good fun. He was a smooth talker, a very fast talker. He knew everything he was going to say before he said it. The only time you saw him flustered was when he thought that Jesse and Walter, when they were holding him hostage, he thought they were someone else.
Yeah.
And then when he realized he wasn't, he just completely relaxed. So yeah, a lot of stuff set up, and I'm curious to see where it's going to go next. So definitely looking forward to the next episode.
So yeah, I guess that will do it for this episode.
I think so. So
We will see you
thanks.
folks next time.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Bye bye.
Bye.